Welcome, everybody. This is Dieter Kalt, your host of the podcast 74 once more. And this is the second ever episode with the first live guest. I'm going to introduce you to a guy that I know for many years that shared the same kind of story than I had, just comes from a totally different background with different stories and different experience. I'm talking about Radek Hamr, a former Czech ice hockey professional who grew up playing in the Czech Republic and played overseas as a young guy, even with the Ottawa Senators in 93, 94. Then came back to Europe, played for Sparta Praha, and went on to Sweden to take over Sweden together with me, playing together with me in Färjestad, where our story together started. And then after a couple of years, our paths separated again, and he finished his career playing in Switzerland, became a coach in one of the greatest organizations in Europe, then a player's agent, and is running his own hockey camps. A guy with lots of experience, but I leave that better intro to himself. Radek, thank you for being the guest on my show, and welcome.
Well, I thank you, Dieter. It's a pleasure, and it was a lot of nice words. So I don't know if I have to say something. You said all my career, so. But well, I can start that a big part of my life is that what really happened in my career when I look back has to do because I grew up in Czechoslovakia, in a communist country, where we as a hockey players and all the other athletes had actually a pretty good life because we got everything for free. The parents didn't have to pay so much, so hockey, all other sports were a good time to spend, a good way to spend the time, and it affected me a little bit later on too, because as growing up in a communist country, you couldn't leave the country. You could just you have to stay there. So you didn't have a choice to go to Canada or outside to the West. So and I was affected of my older brother. He was always listening the radio station Free Europe. It was from England. So when I was about 15 years old, and I started to play for the national team, junior national team. That was the time when I decided I'm going to be the hockey player. But I played hockey from I was 6 years old, of course. But it was more for fun. I was just until 14 years old. It was fun. But then when I got first selected to the junior national team, then I realized maybe I could be a hockey player for real. So it affected my studies. I didn't maybe study that hard anymore because I was just caring about hockey. And my brother was listening. My oldest brother was listening this radio. And we were listening the news from the players that left the Czechoslovakia, went on for the journey to play NHL. And it was not many, but for me it was a huge adventure, and I was listening this news on this secret radio station that we were not supposed to listen, but my brother somehow could it done. So we were listening the hockey news from the first guys that left the country, and so my dream was that I'm gonna leave as well. So when I will be a little bit older and I will have a chance, then my dream was that I'm gonna escape the country and go to Canada and States.
I can really relate to that story because growing up in Austria, obviously culture was totally different. But my personal in my family, we had a strong affiliation with Russia and the Czech Republic through the business of my father in sports and his friends, that he spent years together with. So I had a chance when I grew up to kind of smell and really experience how it was behind the Iron Curtain back then, when it was still the Iron Curtain. and that made a big difference in my life. Seeing how guys like you, my age, had to work hard and had to fight and had to compete to get a chance to get out of the country through sports and make a career. Where things were not as they are in Czech Republic right now or in Russia. Things were totally different. And there I was, that spoiled Austrian kid who had everything, served on a silver platter. We still had to work hard, but looking at you guys, it made me realize what working hard really, really means and fighting for one goal. So when you talk about getting picked for the Czech national team, one has to understand that was a big deal. There's a lot of kids who played hockey who wanted to be picked for that national team, and you were one of those guys. So that was extraordinary for sure.
Well, yeah. So it affected me that way that I had this plan, but then when I turned 18 and I was going to escape the country, then the revolution came, and I didn't need to escape the country. I could just jump on a flight and fly wherever I could. So it was a little bit different. So the revolution just destroyed my plans. But
well, thank God those times are over.
but what happened was that when I got a chance I got drafted by NHL team and by Ottawa when I was 18, and I could come over and sign the contract. So I did it right away, and so I went over really early, and I was not ready. I was not big. I was not the biggest guy there. When you're 18 years old, you're not ready to go to NHL. Maybe one of the 1,000 guys you can be, but when you're a normal guy, you should not be ready when you're 18 years old to go over and play NHL. But I tried it anyway, and it was maybe a little bit too early. But I gave it a shot, and I was there 3 years, and I was mostly playing in farm team. It was a different hockey at that time, and I was using my skills and my skating, but I didn't have the size. So it was maybe not really my time there, but I feel good anyway because I give it a chance, and I got some experience anyway, and I learned language, and I got a lot of friends, and I discovered the hockey over there, and that was good. That a lot of experience that I'm using right now.
So when you talk about that time coming from the Czech Republic, and suddenly being able to just step on a plane and go overseas to that glorified Western country, the land of your dreams, and trying to make it there. What, in your opinion, what was the hardest part about it? You talk about, you were not back in those days, especially defensemen had to be huge. You had to be strong. It was like a wrestling match out there. And I remember I had the same trouble being a small forward. I had to be quick, just like you were. But that was just the sports part. But what was the real challenge, or was that the only challenge that you faced?
Well, I was, as I said back, it helped me because I made the decision myself, and I had this adventure heart in me. And I decided that I'm gonna go, and I knew it's not gonna be easy. So I was kind of ready, even it was not easy. The challenge was the language. I didn't have the perfect English, so first half year was the language was a huge disadvantage, and then of course that I came from the communist country, come over to United States. That's I was not popular by all the teams we play against. My teammates I loved, and I got protected by all the other teams too. I heard it every shift. I heard it every shift where I came from. So at the end I was laughing, but it was a little bit special. It was a special feeling, and the language was the biggest disadvantage when I look back, and then at the end of the season, it was missing my family. I was still young, so missing my brothers and my father was the biggest thing. But I guess it made me stronger somehow. Second year when I came, I wasn't that much homesick anymore, and third year I knew that I could be there 12 months a year in a row, and I was okay. So everything needs time, and you get stronger and older, and So I don't regret anything. So I felt like I give it a shot.
So when you talk about, with your special background, really had to growing up in a different environment than usually young people grow up these days in Europe. Um, and then going overseas alone without the family, language was a problem, and then you come there and get intimidated pretty much every night. Obviously, mindset and the mental part of it is a big deal.
Yeah.
How did you become that mentally tough? What shaped you that way, and is there a way to practice that?
Yeah,
Have you ever thought about it?
I don't know. I had the dream that I was gonna be an NHL player, so that's why I went there. And but I realized pretty quickly that it's not gonna be that easy, and it's gonna take some time. And I understood from the hockey that I maybe need some time to get used to it. And but what I didn't practice my mental shape at all. It's just it just went on. I mean, you know how it is. It's 80 games, and you go from the practice to game to practice, travel. So everything went pretty quickly, and yeah, I didn't think about that it was like hard. I was more thinking about the next game, like
Yeah.
and try to enjoy it anyway.
Did you
So
on your journey? Was there any? When I talk about coaches, because you became a coach afterwards yourself, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But on your way to your career and during your career, was there any special figures that helped you? That you look back and like, well, this person, thank God I had this person in my life, or he really helped me with this, and I really learned from that person.
Well, if I look back those first 3 years when I went over, I mean, what really helped me was living with the family the second year. That helped me a lot. They were like my parents over there, so they took care of me, and it was great. That's why I liked when the young people go over. I like the system they have in States when you go to junior team, that you go and live with the family. I understand why, because you need that. And otherwise, I met few coaches, and I met different kinds of players. They all gave me a little bit different perspective, and I learned a little bit from many guys. Good things and bad things, and so I met so many players there, because the teams change pretty quickly. So, I mean, the movement of the players in overseas is much more frequent than in Europe. So at the end of the year, you meet 40, 50, maybe 60 players sometimes. And 3 years, it's a lot of guys that you get to know. So it's, of course,
Talking about
I
competition, huh?
So I learned, yeah, it's a lot of competition, and it's a lot of faces, and a lot of personalities. So yeah, it's tough to choose somebody right there at those 3 years that I really learned something from. I can say that there is a guy that it was before I went to States. When I was 14 years old, I joined the academy in junior academy in Czech Republic, in Czechoslovakia then, and there was one guy who was 2 years older than me, defenseman, and I just started to play D. I was always forward, but I just started to play defenseman because they didn't have any of defensemen, and so I when I was 15 years old, I started to play defenseman, and it went really well. But I didn't really pass so good. So I remember that there was this one defenseman that was passing really good, and I learned the technique of the passing from him, and I was practicing it every day for 2 years, every day. And at the end of those 2 years, I could pass. I could pass the puck the way I wanted to. But I couldn't do it when I was 15. But by the time I was 17, I could. So it took some time, but this guy really changed. I was happy that I got to know him, because I don't know if I would be able to be a 20 years pro player if I wouldn't be able to pass the puck the way I did and the way I learned from him.
That was kind of your mentor back that time, an older player taking a young guy under his wing and showing him the ropes a little bit like that. So
yeah.
When you look at your career and I really admire that you took a chance to pursue your dream.
Yeah.
A lot of people are thinking about their dreams or daring to dream, but when it comes to actually taking a risk and trying something completely new, then they don't have that what it takes, or they're just too scared, or too many fears. And somebody who I really admire people who take that chance, and that was not an easy move from you by any means. But then it didn't work out the way that you probably dreamt of as a young guy, and came back to Europe. But like you said, no regrets, because you saw how it worked and you gave it your best shot. You came back and had a great career in Europe. But then the time came. When did the time come? When you started to realize, one day this all might be over, and I have to start thinking about something, what I want to do afterwards. When was that time?
Yeah, well, I came from States. I was still really young, and I played a few years in Czech, in Sparta, Prague, and then I went on and played in Sweden, and I was pretty lucky that I didn't get hurt so much. So I felt healthy pretty much all the time, strong, and so I kept playing. So I never thought about what I'm gonna do after hockey. I was just enjoying my time, and. But then when I moved to Switzerland, I hurt my knee first time, and then I started to have little problems with my knee, and that was the time when I first started to think, okay, what am I gonna do if the knee doesn't heal, doesn't keep me strong, and so that was the time when I started to think first time. I had a huge operation on the way, and I didn't know how it's gonna be. So I was going through my head and thinking about what to do, and that was the toughest time in my hockey career, because because I had personal problems at home, and my knee was not good. So that was the time when your whole life kind of slipping through your hands, and you don't know what to do, because the hockey is not working and the home is not good. So that time it was really challenge to keep me in a positive mood.
And that's great that you tell us about that time of your career, because I remember when we had the phone conversations back then. We had that history in together in Sweden, where we became friends before, and obviously we had lots of contact ever since. So I remember that, and I never had that experience in my career. With that one big injury that makes you question. What I'm going to do if I'm not going to be able to come back, or not come back the same as before. And that was obviously a time in your career where you hit a certain age, you've seen a lot, and you're like, okay, what's going to happen? But how did you approach that mentally? How did you, because a lot of people with those kind of, obstacles, with this kind of resistance, they have big mental problems, but how did you approach that special? And came all the way back.
Well, the thing was that I think I'm the person that if I have some problems, I don't keep it to myself. So I don't have a problem to go to my friends and tell them, hey, this is I'm feeling bad, or my wife is and me are not feeling well at home, and so I don't have problems about that, or my knee is shit and I don't know what I'm gonna do if I don't play hockey. So I was speaking with my closest friends about that, and that helped. And then I actually found one person in Switzerland. He was a condition coach, and I was starting going to him and practicing my knee, practicing my body, but most of all also practicing my head, because he was always talking to me about life, and he was kind of mental coach as well. So that person, I was really open up. I opened myself, and I every day we practiced and we talk, and that helped me a lot. So
what you said before, I think that was extraordinary. That you said, okay, you had no problems in showing your vulnerability, to friends, to people that were close to you. And that's coming from a guy who survived, the iron bath and the intimidation game back in the days in hockey in North America, and especially for young guys that come from Eastern Europe, and in a sport where usually you have to be the tough guy all the time, no emotions, no pain, this kind of attitude. And then you come and say, okay, I was really open talking about my problems. That really helped me mentally. I think that's something that you don't hear very often.
Yeah. Well, it's not like I told everybody, but I told only those guys that I felt comfortable with. It was maybe 3-4 guys that I play with at that time, that I see daily basis, everyday dressing room. So I talked to them about that, and then I through one of the guys I met this coach in Zurich, and that was a turn pointer for me. So after that, I kind of was jumping back, and that was at the same time when I starting to realize, okay, yeah, maybe I'm not gonna be playing 5-6 more years as I wanted to, because I enjoyed my hockey in Switzerland. It was the best times. So I was playing really well, and I was playing in a good team, and I was just feeling like I owned the ice. It was great. Mm-hmm. But so I didn't really want. I didn't feel like quitting. But at the end I had to, because the knee was not healing, and it was not strong. So that's why I felt like, okay, well, if I'm gonna quit, what I'm gonna do, and that's why I started taking the coaching courses, because I was like, I love the sport so much, and I wanted to stay in it, and I didn't see myself going to some office and sit there from 8 to 5 and doing something that I don't know nothing about. So the only thing I knew really was hockey. So for me, it was pretty easy. Like I was gonna start taking the courses to coach, because I kind of knew that I couldn't just be coach, because I was not that naive that I thought that if I'm player I can be coach right away, which I still think it's impossible. So you need some time between, and that's why I wanted to take the courses early enough, so I'll be a little bit on the way. So
you're one of those guys who are mentally prepared that actually that life on the other side might actually feel different than being a player. So how do you see, if you look back, how you see that now? Do you still feel like a player, or do you have that distance that's necessary and to reflect and get a better view?
Well, my first year of coaching woke me up even more. Like I knew before I started coaching that it's gonna be different, but it was much more than different. It was totally different. So that's why I was still a player. It took me maybe 2 years. As a player, you got everything fixed. You got all the times for the practices. You got all the meals. Everything is done because somebody else is doing it for you. But as a coach, you're the one who's doing it. So, so that's a huge difference. So every time when the player came, ask me, "Hey, coach, when is the practice?" Like, I don't know. That was not good. So it took me some time before I realized that I have to be more prepared, and I have to be I have to make a different approach as a coach. And so no, but I loved it. I loved it. Just that I realized that it takes more time than you think. So and you I wanted to do it a good way. I wanted to be good and helpful and useful for the guys, and so that's why I was gonna take it slow and really get ready.
Was there anything
So
special? Like, what was? Let's put it like this: what was the most rewarding thing about coaching for you personally, and what was the most frustrating thing? Because at the end, you changed into different profession. There must have been a reason for that. I really want to ask you about that a little later on. But what was the most rewarding and the most frustrating part of coaching?
well, the rewarding is for sure for me is when you see the progress. Yeah, when you see that the players are getting better and they are having fun. So that's the great feeling. I mean, when you try to teach them something and then it's working, then it's awesome. So you get a great feeling, and the opposite is the is the other side, is the pain in the ass. If you're trying to teach something and the players don't get it, then you're like, okay, what am I gonna do now? So of course it's a little bit frustrating if it's not working the way. Then you're thinking, okay, I need to change method or whatever. And in this case, I think I see the difference between the coaches and coaches, because some coaches say, okay, well, the players are just horseshit. They don't get it. And the other coaches can say, yeah, but maybe it's my fault. I have to teach them some other way. That's my job. So some I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, because you realize that some things the players are limited as well. So not everybody can be Wayne Gretzky, that's for sure. But certain ways you can teach, that's for sure. And you need to have a different approach to everybody. So because everybody is different.
When you look at coaching, how you grew up when you were young, your Czech coaches, and then coming to North America with the North American coaches, and then you went to a different culture again, Sweden, and the coaching style or the style of personal relationships in Sweden. And then again, the next aspect is, your generation, you're growing up with the mindset of the people born in the 40s, for like myself. And then having to work with kids that are, 18, 19, 20 years old, tell me a little bit about that. What has changed in your mind, and what are the biggest obstacles in coaching nowadays?
Yeah, but I grew up in a totally different culture from what it's now in terms of approach, coach to the player, parents to the kids, to the son or daughter. It's totally different now. When I grew up, it was not so much communication. It was not so much asking, like, how do you feel? How do you want to do? What do you think about that? It was more directive orders. It was like, do that. And if you don't do that, then it was punishments and threats, which is totally different from what it is now. So the coaches they used like they were threatening you verbal, like with a language, and then they could be hitting you with a hockey stick as well. So it was totally different level of different way of coaching. They thought that they are doing it because they were used to it when they were kids, because their coach were tough for them, so they thought it's the best way. So they were tough on us when I was little. Now it's more open. Now it's more how do you say, communication. Now it's more soft. Let's say soft. It's more. Before it was a lot more discipline. Now it's more open, more freedom. It's more you're a little bit afraid to raise the voice, a little bit afraid to be too hard for the kids. Back then, you got the support from the from the parents. I mean, because there was more discipline at home too. I mean, now at the days, I feel when I was coaching the young boys, they don't have that discipline as we had. Somehow, I don't know. It was a little bit different.
So obviously, it's the same issue here in Austria than probably is in Sweden, where kids grow up and it's a common culture to bitch about everything. But really forgetting how good everybody has it, or most of the people. Of course, there's a lot of things that don't work, and there's people suffering. But overall, everybody has a pretty good life, especially kids growing up. So how do you get somebody motivated if that motivation doesn't come from himself or herself, from the inside, who has everything? How do you get that in somebody's head? You really want to be successful. This is what you have to do, or this is how I would advise you to, but you have to take those steps by yourself.
Yeah, it's true when you say that the kids today, they have everything, and that's true. They have everything at home. I mean, they got great sticks, skates, everything is perfect. At home, everything is served, and but what I would say that you can still coach a lot. You can still the kids are great persons now. They are more open. They are used to talk. Before, when I was little, we were not used to talk about feelings. We were not used to talk about what we think. We were just following the orders, really. Nowadays, the kids they are more used to it, and they like it, and they expect it from the coaches to explain them everything and tell them why it is like that. They don't just follow orders. So we did that, but they don't do that now. So that's why we need to I cannot have the same approach to the players that my coaches had on me. Then I would not. They would just not work. So I cannot do the same as the coaches did to me, because their coaches did it to them. So a totally different culture. But I think you can still teach, and it's just to repetition. You need to talk to them all the time about if you change something, if you want to change some habit, say motivation. You say motivation, but in that case, you can just say where you want to be in a few years. And if you ask the player every morning where you want to be and what are you going to do for it, just give him these two questions every morning. Then, in 3 months, it's going to be in his head where he's going to be and what he's going to do for it. And so it's not enough if you tell him once a week. I mean, the things you have to tell them every day for a long time, a long period of time. So that way you can change something. You change the habit, or so. If it's motivation that it's issues, or if it's certain things in the game, or if it's certain things in manners and the way they practice, or you need to tell them often, all the time.
Yeah.
Then you have a chance to change it.
Well, that's if you really think about it, and that's just my personal opinion. It's a lot easier if you shout out the orders and everybody's jumping when you say jump. That's quite easy, and it might even work for some time. Well, it did work in the past, But having to engage in conversations all the time and explaining why, obviously that's really challenging for coaches, for parents, or for teachers, in any case. But it's a lot more fun, and that's what you want to. That's what you really want to have. You want to educate at the same time that, you're talking to somebody who really thinks about what they're doing, think about the game, think about your future, think about yourself, nutrition, everything. It's not going to be, why should it be me holding your hand? I can follow you, I can guide you, but you have to take those steps by yourself. But obviously that's quite tiring, but I think it's a lot more rewarding.
Yeah.
But you gave me a word, habits. That's obviously a big word when it comes to success, or in general, not only sports, but talking about success secrets or success habits in sports. Is there anything that you can name that you really used, that really helped you in your approach as a professional? If I do this, is it something mentally, like before you went to sleep, that you talked to yourself when you got up in the morning, something that you visualized, your big goals? That's one thing, but were you able also to translate that to your later life as a coach, or now as in your profession and in your private life?
Well, if I look at my career, there's three things that I was doing really well that made me a professional hockey player. It was a skating, it was a passing, and it was able to read the game. The skating, I don't think that I did something special to be a great skater. I thought that I just had it. I think I don't know why. It just happened. There was no special practice for that. No special practice. I was practicing same as everybody else. I didn't do anything extra. And then when I was 16 years old, I was the best skater. I don't know why. I was skating as everybody else. I didn't do anything extra. So then the passing, it was for sure this guy that I told you about. That's between this age 14 and 16 or 15 and 17. That's where I learned to pass. So there was, I already told you about that. And then the game, read the game. I think I got a little bit lucky that I changed from the forward to the D when I was, because that made me, after that, I could read the game. I didn't read the game before so well, but after that, I just saw everything in front of me, and I saw where the guys are swinging, and I understood the game. So
what you're saying really is, it's, you have to be a forward to be a good defenseman later on. Is that something?
It helps you. It helps you. Yeah, that's why I like when the youth coaches made the players change positions. I think it helps them. It helped me, and I see many guys in my career I was coaching or playing with that they went through the similar situation. That all of them actually were that they were forwards until they were 15, 16, and they changed to Ds. So I think it's working. And but what I want to see the habit is that if I look back on my passing, I was really practicing that not every day, but every time I touched the puck. So every time I touched the puck, I was practicing those passes. It was a special technique that I was doing every day. And not a week, not month. At the end of the year, maybe a year and a half, I could really do it.
So, but that means you did it with a purpose. You did it with the purpose.
Yeah, I did it with the purpose. I liked it. It was fun. So the combination of liking it, combination of I saw in the games and practicing that it was working, and then I realized that this is gonna make me a better player. So this combination made me do it every day, and it brought the result that I was using all my career. So that's why I like to talk when I'm teaching the boys now, young guys or older, to change something. You need to do it for every time you step on the ice for at least 1 year. If you do that, you're gonna do it. But the guys don't get it anyway. They maybe get it, but they get it maybe a couple of weeks and then they forget it.
Oh.
Those guys, that they do it for a year, it will be there. The change will come.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes time. That's the habit. You need to be patient with it. You need to stick with it for a long time to become a habit.
So that's where you, as a coach or as a mentor, come in. If you have those group of guys, and you're talking about, especially about young guys who are just, just like you were saying, when you were young, you didn't think so much about this and that. You were just enjoying it and working your butt off and playing hockey. And there's still lots of young guys out there who think the same way. They're living their life. They get recognized. They have the first success. But having that person or that staff that teams have nowadays, and that also something that changed quite a bit over the years. Now you have in the good organizations, you have a goalie coach. You have a forwards coach. You have a defensive coach. Now you even have shooting coach. Or like a speciality. It gets more and more complex. The coaching staff. It used to be one guy maybe, and then another guy, equipment manager, and now it's two assistant coaches. It's a video guy. It's a mental coach. It's this and that. And plus, at the same time, kids get a lot more educated. They learn about how the body works in school. Learn, they can, if you talk about something as a teacher, as a coach, you better know what you're talking about, because everybody has the same kind of information at hand. They learn it, or they just look it up, and then they second guess everything. So there has been a lot of changes over the years, but would you think that if you knew back then what you know now about practice, about preparation, that it would have made you a better hockey player? Let's say if you had a skating coach, for example, somebody who really made you think about the technical part of it, like you thought about that passing, that really changed your career.
Yeah, for sure. I would. The thing that I would have probably changed was my shot, because shooting is pretty much same as passing. I mean, you need to practice it. I mean, it doesn't just come. Skating you can improve as well. For sure, you improve your skating with a skating coach. Yes. But the shooting, I think, is the I see that the percent of improvement in shot is with a shooting coach on daily basis is I see better, more.
Mm-hmm.
But because when it comes to hockey, I mean, I like if you get some good ideas about skating as well, but sometimes it's so complex. It's so the movement of the skating is a little bit more complicated than shooting.
Mm-hmm.
I think the shooting you can make the bigger difference in a shorter time than in skating. I think in skating you need a longer time, and you need to have a talent for that, for shot as well. But I think skating is more difficult to change.
Yeah. That's something that's a topic for a total a special podcast title, maybe in a couple of months when we talk again.
So, but sorry, but if I go back to the question, if I could change something, yes, I could shoot more. I could practice. I could put more energy in the shooting, which I never did really when I was younger. Just a little bit. I was shooting a little bit with my brothers. But not as much. I could be shooting more. I could be putting more energy in the shot.
Mm-hmm. So now, coaching came to an end. Professional coaching in the adult professional league in Sweden came to an end, and you chose a different path of becoming a player's agent and starting to build your name and then use your expertise, and you try to work with a lot of young players. So are you even more a coach now than you have been back then?
I am still kind of coach, but in a totally different way now. It's my clients are from 16 years old until the end, until they're playing hockey. So I have the adults that they are 35, 36, down to 16. So it's 20 years difference in age. So it's the players are in different parts of their careers, and so I'm in many ways I'm more advisor, telling them what they should put energy for, and which steps they should I would recommend. That's the one part of the job, and that's the part I like a lot, to tell them what I think, and try to go into their situation at that time right now, and tell them this can happen, and if you choose that, it will look like that, and if you choose the other way, it's gonna look like that. And so this I think I can predict. I can look at the future. I think I can be pretty good at that, to tell them what can happen if they choose that path. So and that I like a lot. Yeah, and then the other part is to find them a job. But now we're talking about the older guys. So so and the right team and the right spot for them. Yeah. And I really enjoy it. I think it's I feel really pleased, and I enjoy it very much.
Let's talk a little bit about your company, and how you started it, and how you got into that part of the business, and where do you see yourself professionally in the next 5 years, with you and in a personal situation, and also with your professional life in that company?
Well, I was coaching, and I enjoyed it. I was coaching for 4 years, but then I didn't get a new contract, and I got my third baby on the way, and I was not ready to move a family to some other city. So as a coach, you need to be ready to pack your bags whenever. And so I was not feeling to moving anymore. So I was just thinking what to do next, and then one of the ideas was to become an agent, because I had a contacts all over the world. Many of the teammates, the same with you, that you play with or against, are stayed in the hockey business and work now as a GMs or coaches or scouts or agents. So you got this network of people all over the world. So I thought that could be helpful for me. And I love to help the guys with my knowledge. And if I wasn't coached, then the next step was this, in my eyes then, when I started 4 years ago. And I realized that I had the same approach as when I was a coach. I wanted to take it easy and really make a long plan how it's gonna be. And I'm still developing. It's just my 4th year in the agency world, and I learn new stuff every day, and I'm developing every day together with I have one colleague here in Sweden that we work together, and then we have a partner in States, and we three together we talk to each other all the time, almost a few times a day, and discuss different players, discuss the future steps, and that's what I like the most, because one thing that you miss when you stop playing, and that's the dressing room. You miss the feeling of being in a group, going for the same goals, and that's the thing that that's the best part of the team sport, and that's what you miss when you stop. All of a sudden, you don't go to dressing room. You don't have, when is the next practice? You don't have any practice. You don't have any games, so you're kind of lost. You feel kind of empty. So this now I don't have a 20 guys I'm working with, but now I'm building the network of the partners in Germany and Czech and Russia and Switzerland. So I like to have the guys around me that I trust, but the best part is that I choose it myself. Like, I don't have the boss tell me you go there and do that. I'm my boss of my time, and I decided to what to do and where to spend my time.
Mm-hmm.
So we are creating this and trying really to become the best advisors for the players, and
Yeah.
the best recruiters, and the best company that finds the best jobs for them. And that takes a lot of context and a lot of planning and a lot of phone calls and a lot of meetings, and this is what we are creating every day, and planning and talking and we have the same approach that way, that we are not building anything huge that's gonna have 1,000 players, but we, in this world, we still want to keep it familiar, like the family business with the guys that we have a great connection with. So that's the most important, and that's the goal, and we are doing the best we can right now, and we are developing. So when I'm going to be doing this for 15 years, then I think I can say that I know that business really well. But I'm only in my 4th year.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky that I'm working together with my colleague in Sweden, who's been doing that for 12 years, and my colleague in States been in the business for 30 years. So I get a lot of help.
Yeah.
And that's so I'm learning and developing, and I love it.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years, doing what you do right now?
In 5 years, I see myself more. How do you say? I get more confidence, more in Swedish it's a routine, but get more experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I'm gonna right now I'm maybe I could be planning things better. I'm still developing, so I spend time on the things that I really need to. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm gonna be more experienced, and I'm gonna still doing what I'm doing right now. It's just I'm gonna do it better.
Get better every day,
Yeah.
Still the motto. So last question, Radek, before I let you go to your well-deserved sleep, is what is your definition of success?
Yeah, the definition of success is that you get a good feeling that you're helping people, that you have a time for your family. You go to bed in the evening with a smile on your face, and you wake up with a smile on your face. And if you do that, then I believe you're a happy person. And kind of going after the goals, but still keep the feet on the ground and enjoy every moment. So somebody said it's not the reaching the goal, it's the way to get there. That's what matters.
Yeah.
So try to stay here and enjoy every moment, but yeah, in this crazy fast world, stay with the friends and with the family and enjoy it.
Those are great words closing this interview, Radek. Thank you very much. A lot of interesting insights from a guy who who changed sides more than once, in a good way, from behind the Iron Curtain to the Western world as a young guy, in a really tough and rough hockey world back then. Then coming back to Europe and learning about the Swedish culture, which is obviously totally different. And then going to Switzerland and then coaching, and now as a player agent and even more a coach than ever, father of 4 kids. Great success in life. That's something I wish you for your future, Radek, and professionally. I know we're going to deal together, with each other many more times. And I'm really thankful for your time, and I appreciate you being open for this kind of interview that late at night and giving me the chance to record my second episode of my podcast, 74 once more. Thank you very much.
I thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.